The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
I do apologize. We have so much going on, as you can imagine, this morning, and we have server issues again this morning, and that server is in Chicago. Without further ado, please say good morning and welcome to Denver, Colorado. Mike Volin is our guest. Where's Obama's birthcertificate.com is his website. Hey, Mike, good morning and welcome to the show, brother. Thank you for doing this.
And I want to thank you also for doing this also. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, my pleasure. Before we even begin, I want folks to know who you are and why you've joined the fight. And I get to ask this now as more and more people join the fray of just who is Barack Obama. And when I speak to the people that I respect and I ask that question, they so far universally have said, I don't know. And so let me, if we could, begin with yourself first. Tell the audience who you are and why you've entered the fight.
Okay, that was the question. Who is Barack Obama? My wife and I are just ordinary people. We're hardworking people, average Americans. And back in the 2008 era, when Barack Obama was running for office, all these questions started coming up. We never heard of them before. And a lot of questions were being asked, and there were no answers, or they just seemed like they were just passed off. And there was a lot of suspicion about who he was. You know, he was a senator for 186 days. His ties to the Jeremiah Wright, who we threw under the bus. And then they looked into his background, and then we started hearing all these different aliases. And then there was a rumor that he was born in Kenya, which we still don't know where he's born. And it just seemed very suspicious. And then the media was purposely covering up, and Obama himself, trying to cover up his identity. And as it went on, and as people started to join in the fight, and I think it was Philip Berg, one of the very first outspoken ones, we decided that the mainstream media was covering this up as usual, and we came up with a website, Where's Obama's birthcertificate.com. That was a repository of information. We created a stamp, Peter. We got that idea from the Where's George stamp. I don't know if you ever got a Where's George stamp on a dollar bill.
Absolutely.
That idea was to stamp everything in sight. We were desperate at the time to identify this gentleman that's going to have his hands on the nuclear weapons button. And we were stamping everything. People were buying stamps. We were stamping letters, currency, everything, and it really worked. And don't forget, Peter, at the beginning, nobody was with us that had a microphone or a camera in front of them. So all the information that was gathered was from Philip Berg, court cases challenging his identification, put him on the ballot. We wanted to see a birth certificate. The White House came out with 3 different versions of that original certificate of live birth. They were in a panic mode. And then we had Birth Report. I'd like to thank them. They were great. And we were sharing information back and forth. Volunteers, Peter, went to Hawaii, knocked on Kapolani Medical Center's door. That's where Obama's allegedly born. And they got no answers. They went to the Department of Health. And this went on for years. So we gathered every single shred of information and put it on my website. And we made no claim. We just said, here's the information. Look at it. And it went on. And the site moved on with the stamps. And I'd like to thank everybody for participating. And then the Sheriff Joe's investigation came out. And we were hopeful. There was an actual law enforcement investigation done by Lieutenant Mike Zullo, and I'd like to thank him. And we followed that. And we connected with Mike Zullo by I guess, a stroke of luck. And since the investigation started, I talked to Mike on almost a daily basis. Maybe not on a daily basis now because he's really busy, but we connected. I've met with him and I spoke to him in person. And what reason that we connected with him, he had problems with Congress. You know, what do you do, Peter, when you're in Phoenix and you put this information out? Does Sheriff Joe fly to Washington, D.C. with a set of handcuffs and try to arrest Obama? And Congress is the body that should be able to take care of the president and any crimes or anything he may commit to remove him from office. We come up with a sheriff's kit. And I asked Mike, and I didn't want to do anything against the sheriff's department. And we came up with a sheriff's kit. And what a sheriff's kit is, it's the investigation from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. It's the entire investigation. It's on my website. It includes a 57-page affidavit, all the video presentation at the news conference, including the reporters chastising Sheriff Joe at the news conference and asking stupid questions like, when's your book coming out, Mike? Our country was being stolen right in front of those reporters' eyes, and they had the audacity to ask them that. Well, Peter, that started it. People were downloading the kits. They're downloadable. I'm mailing them out on a daily basis. During last summer's congressional recess, they went to their congressmen. They made appointments. They knocked on their doors, and they gave the presentations to Congress. And after that, we decided, because we didn't get a lot of responses and movement in Congress, I guess they're scared and still haven't figured that out. We went to Congress. We bought 400 sheriff kits with us. We spent a couple of days there. We gave out, in Congress itself, Peter, 200 kits. Some were one-on-one presentations. Some we met with chief of staff. Some we just knocked on doors as we walked down the hallway, and we showed them. A lot of them were not aware of even who Sheriff Joe was. And there was some jaw-dropping moments there when they saw the video presentation, the sheriff claiming the birth certificate was a forgery, the investigative technique that was used. And to this day, Peter, the kits are flying out the door. We're still making contacts with Congress. It amazes me, Peter, that how scared they are to stand up and say, you know what, let me at least look into this, Mr. Vaughan. Let me get an investigative team on this. All they're worried about is re-election, and it's so sad to say that.
Now, where are we speaking to you from, Mike?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Okay, where in Pennsylvania?
I live in central Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is like a rectangle. If you throw a dot and it hits the middle of the state, that's where I am.
I grew up there, so I mean, I know what you're saying. It's a long state. And it's
I'm just south of Williamsport and just west of Wilkes-Barre.
I know right where you are. What I have been told many times by people who are in elected positions in Washington, D.C., and do with this as you may, everybody, this is their quote, and I don't know what everybody means, but everybody knows the story's not straight. Nobody will do anything about it. I mean, I've talked to senators, I've talked to Congress people, I've talked to some media types, I've talked to others who all say, we know the story's not straight. But why won't they, I mean, I think I have my own answer, but I think you may or may not know, better question, Joel Gilbert, the filmmaker who did Dreams from My Real Father. Joel has addressed the D.C. Press Club and has told them there's a Pulitzer Prize for anybody in this room if they want it, because he's principally addressing quote-unquote mainstream media representatives, investigators, and reporters. They all know. I mean, truly, they all know the story's not straight. The only people left alive, I think, in this country that believe the story is straight are these progressive, left-of-center, Kool-Aid drinking critics of this show and other shows, critics of people like yourself. But I think anybody with room temperature IQ, Mike, at this point realizes that Barack Obama's life story is suppressed and hidden. But the next question I have is, and the question you have, is why isn't there someone who is willing to step across the line and really report it on a national level?
I was going to ask you that exact question. I know you're a patriot. I've been on your show before. Mm-hmm. You invited me on with myself, and I asked you if it would be okay to bring Charles Kirshner on.
Everybody's welcome here.
From ProtectOurLiberty.org. Mm-hmm. He's a true patriot. There's actually a picture on my website of me and him in his congressman's office. I don't want to change the subject, but we gave him, Peter, almost a 2-hour briefing. We gave him information. We showed him the press conference. We showed him the selective service registration form. And we had Lieutenant Zullo give him a 45-minute telephone conference, and he released information, and not all the information is out there, Peter, that was confidential, that only those people in that room heard that day. And we followed up, and that's important. We follow up with our presentation. We just don't give it and run. And after 3 months, we finally got an answer, and his answer was, we believe he's an American. Well, when I got that answer, I happened to be in the halls of Congress. I went immediately to his office. They knew who I was. I met again with the chief of staff. And I said, ma'am, excuse me, what part of the presentation was the congressman not listening to? We never said he wasn't an American. We said there's forged documents. We don't know who he was.
Don't know who he is.
And that's the kind of, yeah, I know, unbelievable type of answer. I spoke about Kirshner. You know what the depths of we're going to? We're taking money out of our pocket. The Selective Service registration forgery that Obama purportedly registered in 1980, it's a total fabrication.
Well, no, there's no question. I mean, he uses an SSN from Connecticut. And here's my sense of this. And tell me, by the way, if you're just joining us, I have this idea that I'd like to do, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it. But in academia, they have symposiums. They have conferences. They do it in the medical world. They do it, I suspect, in technology fields. They do it, certainly history. They'll gather historians together to discuss an event. Could we conceivably, in Denver, because it's in the center of the country, and obviously because I live here and we have the radio show here, bring all of you guys together? There's probably now at this junction in time, 80 to 100 great investigators that I respect, and bring all of us here for a week or 3 days and discuss in panels and in the evidence that people have managed to squeak out, and present a symposium and maybe deliver a paper in the end of it that says this is the conclusions that we've arrived at with 150 or 100 or 80, whatever the number is, of really good people like yourself and Corsi, and you get on a list of guys, Cascio and Orly Tates, and I can give you the list. I'm sure you could give me the list as well, and Berman and all these guys, and say, here's the conclusions that we have arrived at this point in time, and I think it would be just a series of questions that would have no answers. But in the case of his draft registration, this is my belief, that he has a legitimate Social Security number that was issued to because he is being portrayed as a foreign national. He's being portrayed as whatever they're portraying him as to get scholarship deals, to get, whatever it is that he gets at Columbia, whatever he gets at Occidental, however he works his way through Punahou, his arrival at Yale, those kinds of things. And he's used that SSN that very well may have been got for him at 17 when we think he's working his first job at Baskin-Robbins in Honolulu. Having said that, I think when he gets politically active in Chicago and starts thinking, he makes a run, he gets beaten his first time he makes a run for an elected job, but they say to him, you don't have a draft registration. He never bothered to register for the draft because using this foreign SSN, this foreign-born national SSN, or whatever SSN he's really been issued, he realizes that the first 3 digits of that will blow back, and he'll be exposed for this story. So he gets this, and remember Toot is working with an ability in Hawaii to see Social Security numbers, Grandma, and I don't know if Grandma played a role in it. I don't know if who played the role, but they gave him this SSN from Connecticut, and I think that he used it to forge or actually go to the draft board, but I think it's a forged card. And does that, Mike, does that make any sense to you as a theory?
Yes, I thought about that. You have to remember, when he was running for office, I don't think anybody, even the people, his handlers, had any idea of his past. And people started putting FOIA requests in, and that's how that draft card came out.
I absolutely agree.
They were panicking. They said, well, wait a minute. If you don't have a draft card, that's going to be questionable.
That's right.
And they hastily made a draft card, a total fabrication, only 2 digits on the postal stamp, an upside-down 8, and it came out a couple of weeks right before the election. Finally, the information was released, and it was looked at, and it was determined to be a forgery. They hastily made that birth certificate because Donald Trump had a lot of pressure on him.
That's right.
You know, when you do something like that, you try to keep it confidential. You go to your buddy and go, come here. Here's a couple of dollars, and we need you to do this. Here's a dark room with a little light. Sit in it, and we won't tell anybody.
I've dubbed that guy Jimmy down the hall. I don't believe for a second that when that birth certificate came here from Washington, that allegedly came on the night flight from Hawaii, I believe she brought nothing on that flight, that the birth certificate was manufactured by Judith Corley, brought nothing, that it was Jimmy down the hall manufactures a birth certificate that's layered. It's a PDF file. And the magic question here is, why would Corley, who's a private sector attorney, but she is in the law firm that the president's then general counsel, Bob Bauer, and why would she fly all the way to Hawaii to pick up a forged PDF file? It could have just been emailed to the White House or was already there. I do not believe that Corley brought anything back from the woman who's now dead, Loretta Fuddy. I don't believe she brought anything back. I believe Jimmy down the hall did it, and Corley is just a beard. What do you think of that?
It's a dog and pony show.
Thank you.
Steps had to be taken to actually make it look like someone went there, took it, flew back.
Yep.
They had to show that they went to Hawaii to get it. They had to show some kind of, like, when you go into a movie theater, you want to see it on the screen.
Ticket
and
stub.
That's how they set the stage.
It was the ticket stub. Yeah. Judith Corley, who was, she's in the law firm that his general counsel Bob Bauer had taken a time out from, and how the story is how Corley had hopped a plane from D.C. to Honolulu, picked up an envelope from Loretta Fuddy, who was then the director of the Hawaiian Health Department, and brought it back to Barack Obama, commercial flight, 27 hours in the air, to bring that into that press conference. I throw the BS flag at that so hard. I mean, it's just a hoodwink story. I'm at a hard break. May I put you on hold and bring you back, Mike? Hang on, please. All right, Mike Volin is our guest, and I wish we had server stuff we could show you all of these new breakthroughs, but we don't, and it's not the fault of the radio station. We still are streaming, and you can still email us. And so having said that, coming up in a little bit, part of an ever-growing investigation into the life of the current president, Barack Obama. This is Mike Volin. We have spoken before. And at the drumbeat, the drumbeat has now begun to grow louder. The names that you and I were called and the attacks that were made on all of us have diminished, with a couple of exceptions. And I think there is this general acceptance now among people with above room temperature IQ, with the exception, I said, of the politically correct and the stupid bloggers and others, that this guy's story is not straight. So if I were to ask you, given everything, Mike, that you have come across, what do you believe, and I'm using the word belief, not know, what do you think Barack Obama's true life story is?
It's a hidden past. He may not even know his true life story. We just don't know why they're trying to hide his true identity. It may be something simple as they don't want us to know who his father is. Mm-hmm. It's still a fabrication, the birth certificate. They may not want us to know his communist ties, and they're pretty evident with growing up with Frank Marshall Davis for almost 7 years, who mentored him from the age of 10 to 17. They may not want us to know that. Or maybe at the beginning they didn't want us to know that in order to get him in office, because they know that we would have said, what, we want a man in office that's a communist, that hung out with Frank Marshall Davis, that drank whiskey with him. It may be as simple as that, Peter. Peter, I want to jump back to that symposium idea that you had.
Yeah.
This is what happened. We've got patriotic people that came to my site. They came to Washington, D.C. in November last year. They took money out of their pockets. They flew from all over the country. And we decided to have one-on-one meetings with whoever would listen to us in the congressman's office. That's like me and you talking on the phone. I ask you for something. Well, we decided to do it the old-fashioned way. I tightened my belt. I knocked on your door. I came in your door, Peter. I sat across from you in a chair. We spoke face-to-face, man-to-man, eye-to-eye. I explained to you through my motions and my emotions about what we're doing and what we're talking about. And I also look for feedback from your eyes and your emotions. And like I said, the old-fashioned way, that's how we're doing it. Now, with that being said, we're going to have a sheriff kit too. we're going to go back to Washington when the new information is released. We were planning on going back there anyway, and we're going to give them all the information, and we're going to sit down. We're going to go in larger numbers. I want to thank everybody that's worked with me, like Sharon Rondo from the Post and email. I can call up everybody connected with this, and I can get people to come on my Blog Talk radio show in a heartbeat, and we did last week when the birthday report came down to show support for him. And that's how we're going to do it. We're going to do it like average, old-fashioned Americans. We're going to sit down and have a civil discussion. We're going to show you the evidence. And then we're going to just stop and say, what do you think about this? And we'll answer all and every question. You know, Peter, we're on fire on my website lately, and there's two reasons. One, they're getting scared. People are saying, wait a minute, I put this man in office, there's something wrong, and Obamacare. I did say Obamacare. They're realizing, Peter, that they're getting hit in the wallet and the pocketbook. And if that's the case, so be it. And they're coming. I have doctors calling me all the time. Send me 20 kits. Well, I can't help you with Obamacare. Well, yes, you can, Mr. Volin, because I've come to believe it's the only way to put all of this to rest. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, whatever you may have, if we get them out of office. Their patients are flocking to the office and saying, I can't afford this. I'm going to go broke. I have to quit my job. I've been cut back to 20 hours a week for Obamacare. And they're putting them on the waiting room tables in the doctor's office. People are coming in unannounced, asking them about Obamacare. How can we afford this? How can we take care of this? What do I do? And they're educating them. And people are getting angry and they're getting mad. And they're saying, you know what, let me take a second look at this. I heard something about this in controversy, and it's all there for everybody to download for free. I've got my phone number. I don't hide, Peter, like an OBOT. I have my phone number, my cell phone number on the website. I treat you like a human being. My phone rings all day long. I talk to people. I calm their fears down. I try to tell them we are working on it. I'd like to thank Lieutenant Mike Zullo from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
Is it true? Let me ask you this. There's this rumor, if you would, that they have something next month, that Zullo and Joe and others are going to drop something next month. Have you heard any of that?
I can tell you this, and I did speak to Lieutenant Zullo yesterday. In a police investigation, they're going to announce a certain date because it's a criminal investigation, and they have a duty to do to the public, to protect the public, investigate crimes, report, make arrests, serve warrants.
I've heard this.
As this is coming along, more information is coming out. I asked Mike if there was a specific date. They don't have a specific date. And it's going to be soon, Peter, whether it's the middle of March. I think that's what the plan was. It might roll into April. I could tell you this. It is coming, and the information will be released. We're all apprehensive and on edge. Stand by. Hold on. The information is coming out.
And you believe, I mean, there's a lot of Internet talk, which is good and bad, but this sort of, you know, put on your seatbelts, get ready. We're going to go back into a deep dive on who is Barack Obama sometime in March. I don't know if that's true or not true, but certainly the websites have indicated that. So let me again come back to the question: if you were to try, and I've done this so many times to people, and I've gotten to the point now that people who used to be so horribly critical, and I got to tell you something, people drew political cartoons about me in the local Rocky Mountain News. I've been attacked in the Denver Post. But what happens, Mike, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is when I call these people and ask them to come into the studio and have a debate on Barack Obama's life, I either don't get a response, or the response that I get is, in most cases I don't get a response, but they'll say things like, I will not appear on your hate show, which is a way of saying I can't defend what I'm saying, I can't defend what I'm accusing you, and you're on the money. But I want to come full circle. And with the limited time we have left, if someone said, hey, what do you believe the true life story is? And, you know, no one ever explains away the nude pictures of his mother that were taken in Frank Marshall Davis's house. I think Joel Gilbert can make that case, you know, with the floorboards and with them in what's called the cove against the wall and the record LPs and that stuff. I mean, all this craziness and insanity. And if you say anything about his mother, then you're attacking his mother. I mean, we're not attacking his mother. I think they're legitimate questions. She's a kid posing nude with this guy who likes to take pictures of young girls, and he may be the dad. If you look at the pictures, the guy looks dead like him. He didn't look like his father. And then recently, and I'll give you a comment on this, you know the story of his brother that shows up, and his brother is in with a bunch of Hamas characters, and his picture is taken. He's in Yemen, and Malik Obama wearing the Hamas scarf that talks about death to Israel. And I pose this question, because you're talking about the MSM, I pose this question. If that was George Bush's goofy brother Neil, and he was in Germany wearing a Waffen-SS costume or uniform, standing with his arms around a couple of proto-Nazis, or, you know, this new party that's arrived in Germany, I think that Brian Williams and the New York Times would have a field day with it. But here's this picture. It's Malik Obama, who is the head of the Barack Obama Foundation in Washington, D.C., Barack Obama's best man at his marriage, and he's wearing the scarf, and he's attending a conference of Hamas supporters and Hamas terrorists. And it's though it didn't happen. It hasn't happened. And I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to get anyone to jump into this, are you?
It's pretty clear that they're covering up for him every which way they can. Let's go to Chris Matthews. At the beginning, he said Obama was born in Indonesia and had Muslim roots. And then all of a sudden, when Obama came the front runner, he changed the story. You don't hear about that.
No.
That's how fast they can change the story.
But what do you think? What do you believe? With about 3 minutes left, what do you believe the story is?
I believe they had a candidate who speaks well, likable, young, appeals to everybody, tells you everything that you want. He's smart, Peter.
Oh, very smart. He's a lot smarter than people think.
Everything we wanted in a candidate. He was the perfect candidate. And then as they started digging in his past, he has got a very strange past. They came up with a lot of questions about his past, and it comes down to that birth certificate being a forgery. Who is his real father? Who is his real mother? We don't even know she's his real mother. We just don't know where he came from, and it's not a matter. It used to be where he was born. Let's verify his citizenship so we can say he's the president. They're hiding something else. He's got too many half-brothers and half-sisters. We just don't know, Peter, and the people rose up like me, you, your audience, and everybody else that comes to my website, and it will happen one day, Peter. I want to tell your audience, hold on, it will happen. Stay close to my website for update information. Call me, I'll give you updates. Peter, I want to invite you on my Blog Talk radio show one day.
You're done, brother. You know how to find me. I'll put you on hold, speak with Case, and I'll do the show with you.
Peter, thanks again for being a true American.
All right, I'll put you on hold, brother. There you go. Okay.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.